Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry. Today's video is going to be going over our preview of the next event, Valentine's Confections, as well as the new Summon Showcase that is going to launch alongside that, Ardent Admirers. So a couple of days ago we got this coming soon page for Valentine's Confections. I mentioned this in my last video, but this is a brand new event type, a story event. So you can see here in the artwork, we have Elisan and Cleo and some special outfits. They're not on the Summon Showcase, but we can expect they'll appear in these outfits in the event itself. And Orion and Azalith were mentioned, and as it turns out, they are on the showcase. So on the second page of this preview, we see that we're going to collect Ravishing Roses to unlock special stories. And in the notices board, we actually find out that it's up to us how many stories we want to view. So I'll go back here to when this was first announced. Limited time stories for various characters, and you clear main story quests and events to unlock these stories. So I'm imagining that means we're actually playing through the campaign and there's not going to be new maps, but perhaps they're going to be reskinned to fit the theme. Either way, I think it's actually kind of good that there's an incentive every now and then to play through the story, because if you've already beaten it, you might not have reason to go back, and if you're a newer player and want to do some of those maps in co-op, I can imagine it could be pretty hard to do so. So, other than that, how much story you experience is up to you. The event itself I'm looking forward to. Hopefully we get some good rewards from this as well. Perhaps we'll get some Damascus crystals, because from facility events we get golden fragments, and from raid events we get sunlight ore. Damascus crystals are like the other two. They build up toward a Damascus ingot, which lets you unbind a 5-star weapon. That would be kind of cool to see. But besides that, we also got some news of a version update, so you can expect this to be pushed through tonight if you haven't updated it already. And one of the highlights is we're going to get a 10-fold summon voucher. The other big thing is we're going to have access to all types of elemental ruins every day of the week. The only thing that's going to rotate is which expert quest is available. So I think this is a really positive change. It is good to have different quests available on different days in some ways, because it incentivizes players to log back in. But it's really frustrating when you just want to build a certain character or certain facility, and you just don't have access to the materials you need to do so. So I think this is a positive change. It won't really affect me too much, because to collect the daily bonuses, those little treasure chests, I still suggest you do expert because you get the most rewards. So if you're just doing these twice a day, I don't think this will affect you too much either. Other than that, there are some other issues that have been fixed, and there's some preparation in place for void battles. One of the things that a lot of people have pointed out is now on weapon pages, it shows a slot for abilities as well as skills. And the What's Ahead Part 2 said that weapons would have special abilities, but it was lowercase abilities. We didn't know if it really meant in-game abilities, which are basically passive effects. So I'm excited to see how they implement those. Hopefully Void Battles gives us some lasting content, and it's not incredibly easy to beat. It's supposed to be between the Imperial Onslaught and High Dragon Trials, and maybe what they'll do is say expert difficulty of the Void Battles is harder than Imperial Onslaught, but maybe Master difficulty is even harder than the Dragon Trials. I wouldn't mind something like that. And I'm curious to see just how they're going to balance those weapons. Otherwise, we got some maintenance notice when that update will be taking place. There were some issues with some display bugs, but once everyone's version is updated, that should be restored and everything should be fine. So let's get into the bulk of the video then and look at the preview of the upcoming showcase, Ardent Admirers. Of course, this is a Valentine's theme showcase, but not everything is going to be limited or seasonal on this. So the adventurers are and certain Wormprints are, but the 5-star dragon Prometheus and the 4-star Wormprint Entwined Flames, those are not going to be time limited. For everything else, you're going to need to summon on the showcase. It's not going to be part of the normal summoning pool. And the duration is from February 14th, Valentine's Day, to the 21st. So this is a flame element showcase. All the adventurers are of the flame element. The dragon is of the flame element. One of the Wormprints involves the flame element. So if you need to shore up your flame adventurers, this is a good time to do so. We don't yet know what element is going to be favored by the upcoming event. Presumably it's flame, but if we're playing against main story quests, then perhaps it could be multi-element. So we really don't know that. But if your flame teams need some rounding out, as we will see, there are some really powerful options here. So we only got a preview of the 5 stars here, but there's also a Japanese trailer video that was released, so we'll take a look at that afterward. Right off the bat, our 5-star focus adventurer, Valentine's Hildegard. I prayed without ceasing that I might meet someone like you. And she has some of the most gorgeous artwork in this game. She is really pretty in her dress. Looks like a different person with her hair down, and I think that she looks really good. I think that they kind of knew exactly what they were doing with creating this character, because Hildegard is a really popular character and very powerful. So from both a character angle and a gameplay angle, I think that there's a lot of appeal to her. And her kit is going to be pretty good too. And another thing that stands out about her is that she's actually the second natural 5-star healer in the game. It's kind of funny to say second because really the other one is Hildegard as well, so in some sense she's still the only 5-star healer, but it's an alt of her. She has very high HP and very high strength. Both of these are more than the stats on Verica, who's the other very common flame healer, and they're more than the stats on Orion, who's the 3-star flame healer. So it says Hildegard has donned an elegant gown for Valentine's, which gives her a mature allure. Seems right. Looks right to me. Supposedly, it's the first time she has ever worn one, and more than one person has caught her wistfully staring at herself in a mirror. So this is probably going to be a really adorable story. I'm looking forward to it. Skills include Blooming Love and Holy Protection. So Blooming Love heals your team, increases their energy levels by 1 stage, and grants a 15-second regen effect. And the rest of this text is just explaining how Energized works, where you need 5 energy levels to get Energized. Holy Protection grants all teammates a 1-use shield that nullifies damage less than 30% of their max HP, and increases their energy level by 2 stages. So note that Holy Protection doesn't actually heal, it just provides a shield and energy. Her co-ability goes up to 20% recovery potency, and her first ability is something new, and it seems really good. Striking Strength Debilitator 2. So that's a mouthful, but it grants the user's 4 strikes a 70% chance to reduce enemy strength by 3% for 10 seconds. So this means that besides being a potent healer, Hildegard can actually debuff the enemy. And for healers, a lot of times the way that they play out is, if everyone is healthy and you don't need to charge up your skills anymore, you have a lot of leeway in what actions you're taking. So for instance, when I play as Verica, once I get my skills charged, and say the enemy is in the overdrive state, I don't necessarily need to spam normal attacks to charge up my heals and have them ready. I can start using 4 strikes to diminish the enemy's overdrive gauge. Well, in the case of Hildegard, this could function at other times of the fight, not necessarily when the boss is in overdrive, just because it gives you a more practical use than spamming normal attacks. So I think that this has a lot of potential. 70% chance is pretty high, and even though 3% debuff isn't that high, you could potentially stack this if that works. Even if it doesn't, just getting off one of these when the enemy's in overdrive is going to be nice. So I think this is a cool direction to go for the game. Definitely a new type of ability, and one I hope we see more of. Besides that, Hildegard has 100% stun res, so if there was any question about whether she'll be good in High Midgard Sormer, she is going to be good. I'm sure that they wouldn't create a character with one heal that heals over time that wouldn't be good. The advantage to Verica is she can enable allies who don't have stun res because she cures stun. And then the last ability Hildegard has is skill prep of 100%, just like the normal Hildegard. That is also very powerful because you can immediately give your teammates a shield, you can immediately give them 2 energy levels, start to cast this regen. Now, for something like High Midgard Sormer, you probably don't want to use either of these immediately, but right after the blast, you can use them and start to heal up your team. So I don't think this shield will be enough to prevent the initial blast, because that just does a ton of damage. But it is going to probably be able to prevent certain unavoidable attacks throughout the fight. It's possible that it could actually prevent Storm Chaser, which is the purple targeted attack. Even if it doesn't do that though, this shield might just be enough to block like a dash attack, things like that. Something really basic, but nonetheless, getting that energy could be relevant, and I could see Hildegard being a really good teammate for Cerise. Not that Cerise needs a particularly special teammate, because she's just outstanding in that quest. But overall, Hildegard looks incredible as a healer. Artwork, I'm really excited about her, but unfortunately, we can't get our hopes up too much for these 5-star characters. It's just so hard to summon a particular one. If you are able to get Hildegard, or if you decide you want to invest a lot of resources and put everything out there to try to summon her, she does seem really powerful. Moving on, we get to the featured dragon. Prometheus is a 5-star, and remember, he is going to be back. He is not limited time. I know a lot of people are going to be happy about this because this is the first husbando dragon we've really gotten. He's the first humanoid male dragon who kind of has this edgy look, shirt open. I think a lot of people are going to like him, so I'm glad that we got Prometheus. Some people had their hopes up for Mim. I think that just because she has such a romantic interest in the protagonist, people associated her with Valentine's Day, but hopefully we'll get our Mim alt eventually. For now, I like that this is kind of a balanced showcase. Hildegard, definitely going to be a waifu for a lot of people. Prometheus, he's got that husbando status, so hopefully there's something for everyone here to like and enjoy. Prometheus has 374 HP and 121 strength, so he is definitely focused on strength, and he inherited the primal flame. He believes the strong have a duty to protect the weak, and his great power once hurt those he swore to save. Ooh. Ever since that day, he has kept his distance from humanity. So I'm really looking forward to finding out about this guy's backstory. Hopefully he'll actually appear in the story event. From there, Prometheus has Promethean Flame. Flame damage to the target and nearby enemies, nothing too special, but the ability is pretty cool. Strength and wind res too. So if the user is attuned to flame, increases strength by 50% and adds 15% to wind resistance. This is once it's max unbound, so we'll have to see what the exact numbers are before then. I would imagine it's something like 35% and 10%. We'll have to take a look at that once we find that out. But this is really solid. Cerberus and Agni are the 2 other 5-star flame dragons, and they provide just 60% strength with no secondary effect. So they are going to be giving you more strength, 10% more, or 10 percentage points more. But 15% wind resistance enables adventurers who were a little bit underbuilt to do things like take on High Midgard Sormer. If that is one of your goals, this dragon and this showcase in general are likely going to be pretty good for you. We're going to have to wait and see what the 4-star dragon is, whether it's Phoenix or Ifrit, but either of those 2 are going to be relevant for that fight, so this could be one of the better opportunities to jump in. It is a seasonal showcase, but Prometheus isn't seasonal, like I said. So do remember, you'll be able to get him in the future if this is the only character that you want. But this is going to be the best rate of getting him, most likely. So I think this is kind of cool. I'm glad they're being more adventurous with their dragon designs and mixing things up. This is going to make life a lot easier for you if you want to take on that fight, like I said. Otherwise, it's a little bit less strength than what you're getting, but not so much less that I think it's actually worse. From there, the Wormprints that we see in the preview are, first of all, the Chocolatiers. Good amount of strength, not quite as high as Levin's Champion or Valiant Crown, those types of offensive Wormprints, but right up there. It's within 3 points of strength, 3 to 5 points of strength. And this only has one ability, skill prep of 100%. So initially when I saw this, I thought this has a lot of potential to be very degenerate, because if you've played any of the High Dragon Trials, you'll know skill prep can kind of bust things open in some crazy ways. So for instance, Lowen has skill prep of 75%, and Lowen can actually beat High Midgard Sormer and bring along other off-element teammates by using a 25% skill prep Wormprint, because it lets him cast his defensive buffs immediately. He has one on his weapon, his 3-star weapon, and he has one in his base kit. So because of that skill prep, he is able to kind of break the game and allow for these crazy meme clears of these endgame challenges. And it's similar for Hybrid Hilda, although the cutoffs are much more strict on that, so it's going to be harder to get in. But Hildegard, she has the defensive buff and skill prep of 100%. That's also what allows her to get into these high dragon fights. So when dual Wormprints come around, this has a lot of potential for shenanigans. And that's the main context. Those fights are the main context where having an immediate skill makes that much of a difference, in my opinion. For other types of fights, like Imperial Onslaught, it doesn't really matter. You're probably going to be able to beat it eventually either way. But we don't know what Void Battles are going to be like yet. It could be that this is really useful. Until we get dual Wormprints, though, I don't think that there are any characters that this really pushes over the top to be able to do stuff like this, because you're sacrificing a high dragon Wormprint. So you need at least 2 defensive buffs like Lowen has. If you just have 1 defensive buff in your weapon and don't have 1 in your skill kit, this is not going to be a workable option for you as a substitute for that Wormprint, unless your character is already extremely built out anyway. So I would have my eye on this. The artwork is really beautiful too. That's a reason alone I want to try to pick one of these up. Kind of cool to actually see that for the first time a gacha Wormprint has just 1 ability, but it's just a really strong ability. Finally, the last Wormprint that we have here is the Rose Prince, with Leaf in this 3-piece suit with the tie. Pretty nice looking artwork with the roses as well. I know that Leaf also has husbando status for a lot of you out there. HP of 195 and strength of 46, so this is much more defensive. And the abilities are brand new. So Flame Affliction Guard 2. If the user is attuned to flame, resist afflictions up to 3 times per quest. That seems okay. It's hard to really evaluate that. And Shield Prep of 2 grants the user a 1-use shield that nullifies damage less than 20% of their maximum HP at the start of quests. This does not stack with any other shields. That also seems okay. So both of these in a vacuum seem good. They're new, they're unique. Resisting afflictions up to 3 times per quest can get you through some unavoidable segments potentially. But the shield prep of 2 for the endgame for high dragons, this shield is just going to get immediately destroyed. So I don't really know what context this is going to be useful in yet. I wouldn't try to summon just for this, but it is very interesting. Like, it's very thought-provoking. I'm glad that there's some new mechanics being used here. Maybe in void battles this will be really good, but as of now, I can't imagine this being amazing. For instance, you could take this to something like Wind Imperial Onslaught with a Flame Adventurer who has Sunres, and you could get hit with sleep-inducing moves 3 times and not get affected. The shield prep you'd probably lose to some random enemy mob who just attacked you, and it would prevent that attack. So I really don't know what the context for this is at this point. I like it, it's intriguing, it's thought-provoking, but for my money, I would say that the Chocolatiers has some shenanigans, it has some immediate applications. I don't really know what the Wormprints does. So that's what I think about the Wormprints at 5-star, the new 5-star dragon, Prometheus, and of course Hildegard. But remember, it's really going to come down to these 4-star and 3 stars for most of you to decide whether you want to pull, because those are the ones that you can realistically get. As you can see, I finally cracked 10k Wormite again after spending it all on the Gala. And even that's precarious. You really want a lot of Wormite to be able to go into these comfortably. If I do summon, I will probably wait until the final day and maybe just summon until I get 1 5-star or get some of the 4 stars I really want. I've also been spending my Diamantium for daily deals, so eventually I'll do a compilation where I show you everything I've gotten from that. But thanks to all of you who suggested it, because that has been a really valuable use of that Diamantium for me. But for now, to wrap up the video, I'm going to go ahead and play, and we'll talk briefly about the Japanese trailer, since we do get a look at Orion and Ezlith in that trailer. This trailer is just about 2 minutes long. We haven't gotten an English translation yet at the time of making this video. We actually get to see Hildegard in action, Prometheus in action, and like I said, Orion and Ezlith, so it's kind of cool. Hildegard, you can see she's kind of laying down in her pose, which I couldn't really tell from the preview in-game. We see her using her skills. There's some flower petals that come out, which is really pretty, almost like a bed of flowers. And then we see her second skill as well. Now it does look pretty slow to charge from the animation that we see. Then we get Prometheus. So Prometheus has a nice area of effect on his move. We'll get to see the animation of that in a moment. And he's honestly just looks really huge there. Bigger than Midgard Stormer. And he kind of dives forward as well. I can see him being a really popular dragon. Now, the Chocolatiers Wormprint, which, by the way, I can't quite tell who that is at the bottom of the Wormprint, so let me know who you think that is. You can definitely make out Cleo, Lily, and Maribel. And then the Wormprint with Leaf. Now, here we get into our 4 stars. There's Ezlith. Really cute outfit on Ezlith. We see that she's an archer, a support type, and she has an energy there in the image. She has 2 attacking skills. Then there's Orion, also looking very dapper. And with him, he gets a strength buff when he casts his second skill, so maybe he has a double buff ability. Now that Wormprint in Twined Flames, supposedly from the translations out there, that's going to give a 10% strength buff while shapeshifted. And then the final Wormprint, the 3-star, is a 15% skill prep. Pretty standard. We've seen that on a number of Wormprints, and we tend to get more on higher rarity Wormprints, so definitely nothing to write home about there. It is kind of noteworthy that none of these had abilities that increase the event MacGuffin intake, for lack of a better word. So usually for facility events, the Wormprints that are featured will increase how many of the rewards you're getting. But we didn't see that on these Wormprints, so maybe story events don't quite work that way with the rewards you get to unlock stories. We'll have to wait and see. But as this video has already gone on pretty long, and tomorrow you can expect my full review of the entire banner. Take care, everyone. I'm going to head out now. Tomorrow we'll include builds. We'll go over all the characters. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day and have a great start to your Valentine's Day tomorrow. Let me know what you think of the preview in the comments below. Take care, everyone, once again, and I'll see you next time.